moments of conflict of the agenda. For example, get the kids out of the door. These are moments that triggers a lot of fear into the parents. Afraid of the child would not comply because my reaction will be stronger. I'm going to push. I am feel embarrassed because I need to yell to put it out of the door. So this fear makes parents double stressed in the morning.
When your child melts down after being interrupted or seems to lose it over small things, it's easy to assume that it's about behavior. But what if it's really about biology? This could radically shift the types of strategies that parents use in order to be most effective in increasing cooperation and truly supporting their child's emotional growth and development. Hi, welcome to Securely Attached. I'm Dr. Sarah Brunn, a clinical psychologist and mom of two. In this podcast, I've taken all of my clinical experience, current research on brain science and child psychology, and the insights I've gained on my own parenting journey, and distilled everything down into easy to understand and actionable parenting insights so you can tune out the noise and tune into your own authentic parenting voice with confidence and calm. And I am so excited that joining me this week is one of my personal mentors, a somatic therapist, educator, and the creator of KidSoma, Alé Duarte. Alé trained directly under Dr. Peter Levine, the developer of somatic experiencing, and he has spent decades translating those principles for kids, blending neuroscience, education, and child development into work that's both deeply healing and refreshingly practical for clinicians and for parents. In our conversation, we unpack how to read what your child's body is telling you and how meeting them there can ease so much of the push-pull of daily parenting. We explore why play is a biological need that helps kids process stress, and how even tiny adjustments in the way we move through routines and transitions can make a big impact on their capacity to stay regulated. By the end of this episode, you'll start to see your child's big feelings, their play, and even those tough transitions in a whole new way, and have concrete tools to support both their nervous system and your own. Okay, let's dive in. Hello, Alé Duarte. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's an honor and glad to be back here.
Yes. Okay. So in getting ready for this episode, I went back and listened to the episode that we did about screens. And I was like, oh my God, I kept remembering all of the moments in that episode that like made me feel so inspired to do things differently with myself and my kids. So I just can't wait for all the things that we're going to get into today. I'm going to link that episode though. So all of you who are listening, the episode that Alé did before on screen time has been one of probably our most listened to episodes that we've ever done. It's so good. So definitely go back and listen to that. But you don't need to have listened to that one to make sense of what we're going to talk about today. Because we're going to talk we're going to talk about a different topic. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So I want to start off just by giving you a chance to explain a little bit about the work that you do, because it's very unique. It's based off of a therapeutic modality that's very well known, very well studied, called somatic experiencing, that was developed by Peter Levine, who's one of your mentors. But you've taken it and translated a lot of it to working specifically with kids through your work with KidSoma and that new treatment modality that you're developing. So just before we get into all the valuable things parents can take from this approach and put it into their daily lives, can you talk a little bit about somatic experiencing and how to translate that for kids and how that all kind of works?
Yes, for sure. Well, somatic experience first was developed by Peter Levine, and he also bring this idea of or the importance of working with trauma for adults and for us human beings. And when I met Peter was in 1987 in Brazil when he was there to teach this workshop. So my background is from rolfing, and before that from the education. So in education, I work a lot with kids in many directions. So, but when I saw the work of Peter Levine, and I saw he's working in a way that he didn't use touch in that moment, but he was accessing some of the sensations that was probably trapped in the body of this client. I thought, wow, this is really important because we are really talking about these non-completed experiences. So it comes from the orientation of the body, not necessarily the cognitive, the rational. We are really working with what is it that the body wants to say? What is it that the body is telling us in the moment? And especially working with kids, I realized that kids doesn't have so much words to define their own sensations. So working direct with the body, like their breathing, how they are, their posture, how they are showing themselves into a situation, it's valuable because we can meet them into places that they feel alone, so to speak, with the body. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we adults start to talk so much with kids, and they don't know where to put those words, but the body are showing so much what's happening. So somatic experiencing taught me this, how to get in this energetic aspect of the body. And now bring to the KidSoma, like I said, I came from the education and then the body oriented therapy, which is with using touch. So I use things that I play with kids, plus the work of the autonomic nervous system that somatic experience works, plus the touch, and then I blend that together because most of the language the kids are from the games, from the activities, from doing things. And somatic
Mm-hmm.
experiences is really self-awareness based. So awareness plus activity, we find a way to communicate with children. So I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
could explain well, but is KidSoma is, I wouldn't say is branch out from somatic experience, but also has some roots in education and other activities.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been training with you for a number of years now, and I'm not a somatic experiencing practitioner. You know, that's not my background necessarily. I have, tried to incorporate somatic and mindfulness based practices like awareness stuff into my work, but for way before I found out about the work you do. But coming into like training in this way without the background from somatic experiencing specifically has been really interesting for me because I I'm like, oh, there is so much that overlaps with what I already did, but I didn't have a way to take that those interventions that I was doing with kids that were really language based because that's where I come from, like talk and play therapy, and I'm always trying to get, like, I had this erroneous idea that the goal of play was to get kids to verbalize. And in doing this work, being able to do all of it through play without necessarily taking it to that cognitive level and having to make the kid go from, we are doing this healing thing here with the play, and now I want to pull you out of it so we can talk about it, feeling like that's my job as a therapist. And if I don't do that, I didn't kind of check the box yet. To be able to stay, oh no, I'm going to stay in the play. I'm not going to interrupt this. I'm not going to pull them out of it to reflect and talk about it, but just to stay in the play, finish it all the way, let the body reorganize itself. inside of the play that I'm directing to some degree, but the kid doesn't necessarily feel that. And then there is this, we're done. And it's so, I don't know. I know there's a lot of therapists who listen to this podcast too. So if you are listening and you're not sure about how this works, like I can't tell you how many therapists I've talked to, Ale, who do play therapy with kids that are like, I just feel like I'm supposed to play. I know the kids want to play it. I want to incorporate play into my therapy, but I always feel a little guilty because I feel like, ooh, this is a very expensive game of Jenga that I'm like charging these parents for. It's like, no, it's like, and they feel like they have to use play as like a carrot. Like, okay, if we do this worksheet, we can play. If we talk about the problem at school, then we can play. If we talk about whatever, we can play. Versus thinking about play as the actual full therapeutic intervention from start to finish, and that it has actual incredibly important utility in organizing the nervous system. So I learned all that from you. So maybe you can explain that even better because
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, okay, I don't want to be too geek here, but maybe I need to
We love
bump
geeking
into.
out here on this
Okay.
podcast.
So here's the thing, I do understand that sometimes play when the kids are playing is just for them to have fun.
Mhm.
But also there's other times they're playing just to tell us things. How to differentiate one thing from another, that's another conversation. But let's say what I understood was when I was like studying with Peter, and then he in his class he was showing all the time, not all the time, but he was showing these videos from a cheetah in the savannah try to catch the impala. So, and he wanted to illustrate the fight or flight response and how was important. So, for me, I wanted to understand better why this what happened in this sequence. So I started to look into
Mhm.
the video over and over again from the beginning to the end and not make sense of things until I realized that wait a minute, they're doing this every time, every day. They need to eat something, so they're gonna repeat the same pattern: being calm, being hungry, and then orient around, prepare, run to catch it or to flee, to go away, and having that struggle, eat, and then rest. And I thought this is a repetitive pattern for the whole life. This sequence is
Mhm.
going to happen with us
Mhm.
the whole life. Now, I remember when I was playing with kids that to play, they would do the same sequence. They would be calm, and then they would say, I want to play something. So it's like a being hungry, but they say, I want to play something. Then they talk to friends and say, okay, let's start it. And then they start to catch each other. Finish, wow, let's have water. So this sequence is in the structure way is the same as the hunting pattern. Is
Mhm.
absolutely the same. So now playing is not necessarily having fun, but why they would repeat the same pattern over and over again, uh, as if we are hungry, as if we want to have thirsty, or when we want something else. So that's why I start to think that the structure for me of the sequence is most important of what they're doing, because the same structure will happen over and over again. But why play?
Mhm.
Because I could analyze just in a task. Like, say, the teacher says, say, okay, you have homework today. Oops. Oh my God, I have homework. Again, I have this first arousal, get into readiness, do the homework, finish. Now I can go away. So, but now play
Mm-hmm.
is something that attracts the child to be there in that structure for longer time. And this is for work in a therapeutic set or education set. If you have a child that is so interested in being that pattern for a long time, they'll be able to start to tell the story that happened inside that pattern. For example, some kids might say, I love, say through their body, I love just to wait. Others might say, and plan. Others might say, I love just to run around. I don't like to wait. Others might say, I'm so happy when things finish because I was so stressed before. So these are representing pieces of this whole pattern of the fight or flight response. So when the child
Mm-hmm.
comes to my office, the parents look and I'm playing Jenga, and the parents, I think, oh my God, this is very expensive Jenga. And I'll say, wait, look how he is preparing to get the piece of the Jenga. He's so fast. So he probably does the same thing this in the beginning of things. They do so fast that he is uh, not aware, and maybe he's bumping into things. He very impulsive to do something, and the parents might say, "Yeah, that's right." So we can extrapolate from one round of Jenga many things how they many ways of looking them into their house, what they're doing in the house or their behavior. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think play is absolutely important, because that's going to make our work easy. We don't need to go to that's what kids want. Now putting this
Yeah.
together with the somatic experiencing, that make bring the depth of the game. Means we understand the structure. We are not, it means we are not like a, like to make a joke here, we are not aware of the um, we're not interested in the sardines, we're interested in the can. So we work in the structure and not necessarily the content, the substance that's in there. If it's a Jenga or if it's a homework, it's anything, you have the same structure. So
Mm-hmm.
with the somatic experience, I realized that if I pause in moments of this structure and say, huh, what happened in your body right now? The kid will immediately just like such a relief. So it's like you open those
Mm.
gates into the experience that allow the body to regulate themselves. So that's why sometimes when we look into a session, we see something so simple. I like to do sessions that's so ordinary, so simple, but is so on the spot for getting to what the kids need. Uh, yeah, so that's why I'm fascinated by this structure. Once you understand this structure, what I call the 5 phases, when you find those phases, it's easier to access the depth of their experience, and that's where kids come to ground, comes to the moment.
Yeah. It is so helpful. I mean, this idea of both, there's a couple things that you said that I feel like are really important. One is being able to look for these structures that repeat themselves over and over and over again, not just inside of one type of activity, but in many different activities where an arousal, like there's some sort of seeking system being activated, right? I'm hungry, or I want to play, or I want to connect, or I want to build something. Like these are all things that kids experience all the time. But we, being able to say the structure is the same no matter what. Let's join them in the structure that matches their interests, where they want to be, what feels fun and good to them, instead of my structure over here where like I want to do a worksheet on emotion regulation. It's like, let's do emotion regulation in a game because that's the structure. The structure is the same either way. So let's go to this, let's invite them into this structure that aligns with their interests and where they are comfortable and where their drives are, like to your point. So I think that's so important. But also being able as a parent, like as a therapist, this is super helpful. But as a parent, this is also still really usable. Like this doesn't have to live inside the realm of therapy, which is exactly what I wanted to talk about with you today too, because most of the people listening are parents. They're not doing this with their kids to like, process trauma or like heal things or fix challenging issues, but they have tons of challenging issues because like getting through the day with kids is hard. And so can we talk too about how to translate some of these ideas of, okay, I'm going to notice what the structure is of my child's idea. I want to do this. I'm hungry, or I want to play this game. And like you said, this sort of 5 phases that they go through, and where if parents understand how to see that, helping support their movement all the way through, noticing if there's a particular phase they tend to get stuck in or get frustrated in or want to exit prematurely so they don't get that whole completed experience. I think that could be really useful. Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause here because if what we're talking about today is resonating with you, I have a free resource I think you will really love. In this conversation, we've been talking a lot about helping kids regulate their nervous systems through play. But that can feel overwhelming for some parents who aren't quite sure where to start or who want to make the most of the time they do have by fostering connection while also building real skills. And that's why I created a free guide filled with simple, connection-based games that do exactly that. These activities help children strengthen their emotion regulation skills, not through lectures or lessons, but through everyday moments of play and connection. And the activities are organized by age. So whether you have a toddler or an older kiddo, you'll find games that meet your child right where they are developmentally. And I also explain why each activity works, so you can confidently make the games your own while still getting all the benefits. You can find the link to download the free guide right in the episode description, or head to drsarahbren.com/games to get it sent straight to your inbox. That's drsarahbren.com/games. Okay, let's get back to the episode. There's this like offhanded comment you once made to me, and I cannot stop thinking about it. And we were talking about your son. We were like at lunch in Vienna when I came to do a training with you. And we were at lunch and I was saying like, okay, so you do all this work with parents. You have a little kid. Like, do you feel like it's made parenting super easy for you? And you said, oh, definitely not. But I am the guardian of the cycles. And I was just like, oh, that's so it. So like, can you just explain what that even means and how that fits into this whole idea of knowing these 5 phases as a parent?
Yes. Oh, this is beautiful. I feel here again. I remember the whole thing, and also remember Levi today. That was playing with him, and I was like thinking, I just need to be guardian of his cycles. Guarded from whom? From myself, my anxiety or my fears, and then say, okay, it's time to go. Please, don't, wait. He's still in the middle of his cycle. He's beginning. Or from others, from spouse or parents or someone that is around, teachers. Because I think in some ways, what parents lost is the ability to see their kids cycle. And this, I'm bringing cycle is something very complex to follow. But let's go back to the structure. So when the child says, I am hungry, he's starting a new cycle. So a cycle of what? I need to now wait for the food or walk to the refrigerator, get the food, eat, and then, okay, I'm satisfied, the rest, and the new cycle will come later. So this is the cycle that's basically on the survival. So if my son comes and say, I'm hungry, I know that I need to do something for that. I cannot say, okay, wait, because when they feel hungry, they don't wait. So I know I need to do something about it. He's 5 years old, so I need to do
It's
something.
a basic need.
the basic need.
But so is play. For a kid, play is just as foundational, critical, biologically driven as I'm hungry.
Yes. But let's suppose I say, wait, well, get something there. Oh, just go to the fridge and get something. It could work, but I don't know how he would do it. He's gonna eat in get crazy eating or whatever, eat something that's not healthy. I don't know. So I need to look into this cycle. But also there is other moments in the day that I think is crucial for him, and I think this is good for most of the parents, is in the morning, early morning when they wake up. So the day is starting, the cycle is starting. He came from this very oniric experience of sleeping and dreaming or having nightmares, and now he wakes. So the cycle is starting. So if I don't attune with the child and I don't see the rhythm or don't learn the rhythm, I start to be just bossing around, and then the kid is start to get from inside from themselves and start to just do things that is not their interest. Okay, you need to go to the school. Come on, come on, come on. So when I see that we got into the space here at home, I say, wait, wait, wait. Let's look at his eye. He's just looking around. Looks gonna take forever. So let me follow his, climbing this energy of the day by inviting him to do something, join him in an activity that has nothing to do with going to the school, remind him of something the day before that we did, and then he start just energy start pick up and he start to go and say, okay, let's do it. Say, let's play some Lego. And I look at the clock, I say, oh my God, he wants to do Lego now. It's half an hour for, okay, follow the cycle. And I start to do just a little bit, 10 minutes. And then he's already organizing, and then he goes, get the things for the school. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go. And then we move on. So this is again looking at this very early pattern that happened in the morning without rushing, without pushing. And here's I want to say something, Sarah, that's also for parents. I realize by working with therapists and also work with parents and seeing myself that those moments is the moments of conflict of the agenda. For example, get the kids out of the door. These are moments that triggers a lot of fear into the parents. Parents get afraid of things in that moment. And I would say, is it afraid of the child? Not necessarily. Usually is afraid of the child would not comply because my reaction would be stronger. I'm going to push. I am feel embarrassed because I need to yell at to put it out of the door. So this fear makes parents double stressed in the morning. And overriding cycles estimate the time they need to have a connection that might be too long. For example, oh my God, he wants to play Lego. He wants 2 hours now. This is a super estimation. Sometimes he wants just 2 minutes. We need to pay per view to say, okay, let's go. So that's another cycle that I like to follow. The other cycle that I like to follow is another important one, is the cycle of creativity. Creativity and construction. Kids are hungry to construct. If they have food in the belly, now they're going to move into create something. And they're going to create and construct what they think. So if they are in the middle of that construction and I interrupt that and say, okay, stop there, stop your watching your movie or whatever, it's just I'm asking to have fight. I'm asking to have conflict. So I am aware of how he got into what they are in the moment. If they're middle of the Lego, middle of construction or drawing, or even watching the Netflix or Peppa Pig or whatever, I look in the bar and see, oh, it's almost to the end. I say, okay, after finish, let's do it. Let's come.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that we look into the bar where it is and say,
Yeah.
oh, because they are in this art of construction. Stopping there, it's painful for children. It's
Mm-hmm.
painful.
Yeah, if we feel it. Like if I can, it's funny that you say that because I actually do that all the time. And I didn't really realize I was being a guardian of my kids' cycles, but I think I was just projecting because I do not like being interrupted. It's something that makes me actually really agitated and irritable. And whenever I like, ever since I was a little kid, and it's still to this day, I can't, like, if the TV is on somewhere, I just get so entranced by it. Like, I can't go to restaurants that have like TVs up because I will just like, it's like a fly to the light. I can't not get like zapped in, and then the whole world goes away. Like, I can't, it's just like I go into a trance. And so when people would like interrupt a show when I was watching it when I was younger, I would like, it would like physically irritate me. I didn't like that feeling. And so whenever my kids are watching something, they like know it. They're like, I know, Mom, how much time is left on the thing? I know. Because I'll come in, I'll be like, how much time is left on that? And I make them show me on the remote, and I'm like, okay. And then it's like, let's say it's 7 minutes left. I put an alarm on my watch for 5 minutes. And then I go do whatever the heck else I need to do. But I come back when my timer goes off, which is before the show ends. So then I can catch them before they start the next one. Because I like don't like interrupting their shows because I
Yes.
didn't like that myself. But yeah, I was guarding their cycles.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. And, you know, it's very common when we are in a rush to go and say, stop it. And then we close as if we are putting some limits to the kid. I think it's okay to put a limit, but also we need to honor how far they got in the construction of what they're watching or what they are building there. So it's I think we need to think twice before interrupting. So I rarely interrupt my son when he's in the middle, but if I have to, I negotiate. If I have to, I negotiate. And I can say, okay, Olivier, we definitely need to go right now. Let's make a deal. We go there, and when I go back, we're gonna start exactly where you finish. I can see your Lego is here. No one can touch your Lego now. And I even say, I never do things that needs to be clear. For example, I got a paper or a mark, and I put, okay, let's put it here. This is Levi. Let's close. Nobody touch. This is Levi area. Okay, Levi, deal. Okay, let's go. So I really take a time to really show that I care for his construction, not necessarily his time. I care for the process of construction. And what I see over these years is he immediately go back to where he stopped. We pause. He resume. Is so precise. If at night, bedtime, we pause. I make a deal. In the morning, the first thing he do is come out of the bed and pick up where he left. And I join them. So I really need to track the beginning, middle, and end of their mind construction, because those things are physically, like you said, painful if we stop. And disorganizing for the nervous system is very disorganizing.
Yeah. Which is why I think we can see those like meltdowns sometimes if it happens too quickly for them, they can really like not just give us resistance, but they could like totally lose it. Like they go into just full on meltdown. But you
Yes.
said something though when you were describing how Levi goes back. It's like his body like knows where he left off, and he knows exactly how to go back, and he almost like has to because he needs to finish. Do you think that's something that Levi has developed because of this space you've given to help him really orient to and be comfortable with on some level. I don't doubt consciously he's sitting there being like, I'm in readiness, and now I am in flow, and then I am in integration. But like, because you've facilitated his ability to do that full completion of the cycle so many times, that he's more attuned to that need to complete it. Whereas like a kid who maybe has been so chronically interrupted, and not just because like maybe it's parents not knowing that that's important and doing their best. Maybe it's because they have a little sibling who's always interrupted. Like there's a million ways kids can get interrupted. Do you think that that's something that we can like, that kids can like get like kind of lose and need to get better at getting back to, and that could be facilitated? Or is it innate always, they always know?
Yeah, I think working with kids, everything can return it. A lot of things can return it easily. But first of all, there's one point. Kids, they don't know. They are not conscious about they need to finish their own cycles.
Mm-hmm.
What they think is, oh, I don't wanna disappoint my mother. I don't want to disappoint my father or anything. So they make sacrifices with their own things in order to keep the peace around or get this love. But if they are chronically interrupted, they start to lose trust either on the person outside or in themselves. So imagine, get the scene. Like we go through this all the time as adults. We say, okay, I'll have an idea. Let me open my laptop. Let me do something. And everything. Actually, I just have 10 minutes. I don't want to even start it. Okay, I don't. We start to not trust or the time or people will interrupt. And for some kids, they feel disoriented. They don't know their orientation system. They're always searching for something because they're stuck into the readiness, stuck of beginning of things, beginning that hasn't started yet. So that's one part of this. Another part is, I think, talking about my son, I was very mindful from the day one. If, for example, he was a baby, he was with me, and then I was walking with him, and then he looked at to a flower or something, a branch or a tree, and I would see that orientation, and then I will pause, and then I start to walk towards what he was looking at until I assume that could be the flower, and then he touched the flower, and then I will see that, and then he looked at something else. And then I would go around and start to explore with him. So that was very daily based situation that I was just join with him in the world to be together and getting out of my mind just to be with him. And I could see that he developed this sharp sense of orientation and is so confident in how he puts ideas together. For example, sometimes he got a Lego. He stay 1 hour, piece by piece, organizing, put it together, because he trusts that we would not interrupt him. And that trust is very implicit now. Okay, sometimes things doesn't go well because the days are not falling by Levi. There's other things. So that's why negotiation come into play, not necessarily use of force. This would be like a third, fourth ways of put some boundaries.
Yeah. Cause I mean, like, listen, I think one, a parent could hear this and be like, oh, I didn't do this since they were a baby. And we live these busy lives. And they're 7 now. Like, what do I do? But what I'm also hearing you say is like, this is very intrinsic. Like, we can get back to this. This is it's like a rubber band. If we can find out where it's got stuck and we like pull it off the hook, it will snap back. Like these kids their bodies are very resilient. What are some things that we can do to help a child who maybe gets stuck in readiness or skips readiness and wants to just do all the time? How do we help them get that sense of orientation and organization back?
This, okay, always we have hope for change, always. I believe sometimes we might not be able to do it, or we think, no, I interrupted for the whole life and now how can I do it? But there is something that is about working with kids that is magical, which is appreciation. If we are genuinely appreciate one of his ideas or something that he planned to do, like I'm thinking to go there to use this, and then I come and say, this is such a great idea. So when kids feel that appreciation, it seems like this road for the whole cycle just opens, and then he wants to show more, he wants to do it, he stays on a task for a long time. For example, I was with one client, and she was very insecure to do things, and then she said, yeah, but I like a slime, play with slime. And I said, slime? That thing is so magical. Do you do your slime? And she's was like a balloon of light comes into the moment. And then she stays in this loop of talking about slime, and then we play something, and then she did. And at the end she said, when can I come back here? So we use one structure, the beginning, middle, and end, to play with slime that could be so ordinary. But like I said, it doesn't matter the substance. The structure is already organizing the whole nervous system for other tasks, for tasks that's more noble, let's say. And that's why I think we need to add to that is a genuine interest for one task, one idea. This is a door opening for the connection with children. Not much technique. Not much technique. It's really like, that's great. Show me that.
Yeah. And in doing it, you can this was something I took from what I've learned from you and applied it to my clinical practice and my parenting. And I found it to be very helpful, which is, we have these like big tricky moments, these repeated challenges we have with a kid or a kid that we're working with is having at home, whatever, that we were trying to like help them with. But the nervous system doesn't really know or care if the cycle that we're moving it through is the problem or slime. Like if you can help stretch a child that wants to go into readiness a little longer. And again, you taught me this. I was like, I do this a lot with families, with a kid, like kids who are like, on the go. Maybe they have ADHD. Maybe they just are like, they have a lot of energy, Ferrari motor, tricycle brakes. And I'm trying to help a parent build the skill for that kid to slow down, think, orient, notice. Because that's where they're having all the issues in their home, right? Their day-to-day life or at school. But I'm like, okay, they want to help. It's time for dinner. Let's set the table. They are like, okay. So they run to go do it. Be like, oh, wait, hold on. How many plates do we need? What could we're having, soup. Do we need spoons? So you're just stretching them in readiness. You're practicing that stretch. Or after you do something, let's say you're playing a game or like brushing your teeth. You're brushing your teeth. They put the toothbrush down. You go, that probably tastes like mint, huh? Or whatever. Like, but you're stretching them in integration or rest reflect before they want to run to the next thing. So if you have a kid who doesn't necessarily go through these cycles evenly or easily on their own because they're out of that rhythm, it's like an exercise, like physical therapy. Like, it's just like
Hmm.
practice stretching the readiness, or practice stretching the rest at the end. Or for a kid who's really tentative, when you can move them from thinking about and planning to do something, and they actually take the first step, and just like protecting that a little bit, really inhibiting interrupting it, and then so you're almost like creating a more space for them to stay in that stretch. That has been so helpful, because in doing something kind of benign or irrelevant, or, like you said, like it's like a small, simple task, you're still resetting that nervous system. You're still offering an opportunity to like organize.
Hmm.
And that carries over into all the rest of their life. The nervous system doesn't really care which
Yes.
sardine, to your metaphor, gets put in the can.
Exactly that. Exactly. Yes. So we can also add something that is working with the beginnings are the gold. Work with the beginnings are gold. I will keep saying this my whole life, because practically I live this every day in my office. I live this every day with the kids. If, for example, those examples you gave are fantastic. For example, if you have those kids that is so fast, you say, let's play Jenga. They're already pulling the things and put it together. And then we see this whole pile of piece of wood all disorganized. And then they say, oh no, I don't want to play this anymore. I want to give up. They give up easily. And then in this moment, I can really say, like, wait. Uh, no, I think this is a good idea. So let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's start over again. So, but this time I help you, or I put it together, the pieces, and then you watch it. Is that okay? Okay. And then I start to model how to do it. So in the beginning, and they say, come now, let's start now. Tell me when it's time to start. Oh, right now. Say, wait. I think we need to count until 10. Let's put in the clock. You first or me first? Me. Okay, this time is you. Next time is me. Okay. And then they start. All those moments we take in the beginning to model, to pace it, to help them to think through. It's so important, because we don't want them to give up that easily. But now there's another side of the story. If I am the parents that I am more into the ADHD, I'm very fast. What happen is, like, I might not have so much patience to wait. So what I do, I start things for them, and this is also problematic, because we are cutting the power of their own initiative. We're not cutting their initiative. We're cutting the power of their initiative. So, and then they learn how to resign the first impulses. And I think this is a problem. The resignation of their first impulses, especially for kids that's more shy, it's trouble. It's trouble.
Oh man, yes. Because I had a click, some little aha when you were talking, that like when you distinguished cutting off the power to their idea, or what was the word you used?
Initiatives.
Initiative. Cutting off the power to their initiative is not the same thing as turning off the initiative. So then where does the initiative go? Because now you have this kinetic energy that was like created as a result of this idea, and the initiative, but then you snip it. The initiative doesn't get expressed But now the body's holding that kinetic energy. And if it builds up all the time, that kid's going, and then you wonder why we have a kid who at school is like knocking off people's things,
Yeah.
or being too impulsive in other people's space, or it's like what, because their body has too much kinetic energy, can't get released through completing the idea, the cycle, and then it's like too much stuff is stored up in them, and it's like popping out in weird places.
Yes, yes. And you mentioned something important, which is the delay of the reaction. The delay of the reaction for that initiative that stay there inside, because it will come in frustration, probably. So later, 5 minutes later, and then suddenly you see they've broken something, or you see they are just writing down in a wall, or they say, "I don't like you," whatever. But if we don't connect the beginning of the anticipation, the chronic anticipation of what you're doing with them, with this aggressive behavior later from the child, will never change because you don't make a connection. But I'm here to say, look, there's a connection. And kids will not tell you immediately. Most of them will tell you later with a delay. So sometimes the delay is the next day, but will come.
Mm-hmm.
This part I love to see. I really see these delays happening. And that's where sometimes I come and say, okay, this is it. Yeah. For example, let me give this example. I remember Levi came, and he's very mellow, and then he started just throw things, pa pa pa, and then I start to go back and say, what did I do? What was the interruption? It looks like I'm obsessed by that, but anyway, what's the interruption? What's happening? And said, no, I don't remember. I don't remember. And then I said, maybe it was something in the school from yesterday. Okay, let me try that. And I call Levi, said, Levi, I can see that did something happen in school yesterday? And he's, I say, yeah, I tried to talk to Linda, but she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And I said, oh, okay, now I understand. Okay, what if when I go to the school, I talk to the teacher that was not your fault or whatever, and then he's, great, let's go to the school. So, and then he put his shoes, and let's go to the school. So if you find this, I don't know how to check box or check, I don't know how you hit the right spot.
Yes.
3 lemons, tuk 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 tuk, 3 lemons. If you got 3 lemons, wow. It has a profound change in the aggression, in everything, and in the trust. They say, lives move on, let's go. So that's why I think is important that we understand those sequences, and and how to combine with our lives. I don't know how to say that, but I would say 3 lemons comes quite often when we follow those threads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I hear always when I talk about things like this, in the back of my mind, I'm always hearing the internal, counter that parents will say, like, but I cannot do all this stuff. Like, I don't have time to do this stuff, or we just sometimes have to go, or I just have to interrupt them, or I have a plan A, and I can't always go with their plan A. And I like so get that. And you are not wrong. And you are not crazy that this doesn't always fit in life. But I also know that you can find these little moments for it, and they have a massive payoff. So it's worth it to start to integrate these ideas into your daily life, because I promise you, it doesn't feel as intrusive and burdensome to do this as it might sound. Like, to slow down in the mornings and play a little bit before we get dressed and have breakfast. If I have 25 minutes to get my kids up and out the door, that's not going to work. But if I can get 35 minutes, find 10 extra minutes, and I find a couple minutes here and there, it can be found. These moments can be found without it becoming a burden on the parents. It's just really, it's about kind of, if you start to shift your orientation as a parent to like, okay, I'm going to start looking for these cycles. And once I start to understand that, then I'm going to start to notice where the interruptions might be happening, where I could connect one dot to a delayed expression of frustration. Like you can do this in little bits and pieces, and it has a massive impact. Do you find that parents have that same like, ugh, I can't just do all this stuff?
Yes, this conflict in agendas, plan A from the child, plan A from the adult. And we always need to remember Winnicott also to say that we just need to be good enough. We don't need to be the perfect parents, or we'll make mistake. There's a moment that we're going to say, come on, let's go out of the door. No, this is enough. Okay. If that happens, it's totally okay. But the problem is when you start to feel bad about that, because you need to do this often, that's where the communication is not happen. There is a battle, plan A against plan A, and then we stay in this tug of war. If you notice you are in a tug of war, I would say that because we are adults, we are the ones that need to initiate that. Say, okay, I think let's pause here. I need to regroup and find a way to listen to the child. But if it's once in a while, that's fine. But if we're not aware this is happening, as soon as you start to get aware of that and start to say to the child, come on, let's take a little bit more time. They might look like, what's happening? This is strange. Never happened before. But those are moments of reparation. Moments of reparation is not like snap finger. It has this, something changed here. So we need to stay in this transition of reparation, because I believe that kids need a lot of reparation from us adults, not parents. For us adults, kids are not. We are not seeing our kids as they deserve or how they are. I see in general, with the rise of this medication, the rise of punishment, the rise for many of these organizations that's happening, we are not seeing kids as they deserve.
Yeah. I mean, I'd throw into that mix the change in education and how much we expect of kids to sit and not play. There's so much the world is moving so fast, and we're evolving, and whether we want to consider that good or bad, it's irrelevant. It's just we're forgetting that the kids have a different pace, and we're going, like, the whole world is getting constructed to be so much faster than they can go. And so, yeah, going back and being like, where can I slow down? Where can I look at this through not just their perspective, but their pace? Mm-hmm. And how can I help them organize themselves inside of this fast moving world? But can I create a little bit of a buffer for them to figure out their next steps? And ideally, with play as part of the vehicle for that, I think it can be insanely valuable. Like the dividends pay exponential returns.
Yes. So I was even thinking today, also here in the podcast and the lecture that I'm preparing, is to say less is more. And then I thought, less of what, And I put it here: less pressure, less big plans to the child, think they need to be already in the college, and then we lose moment here. Less of asking them to do things without us. We need to participate more, and put it more here. More togetherness, more company, more attention, like physical attention, and more. I would even say the word that a lot of psychologists don't like, more friendship, but not a friendship like a parent needs to be friends of the child. But also, I believe that there is a friendship connection in a human level that make us,
Like companionship.
yeah, this companionship. I think is better when we have more with kids. They they feel a company. They feel together. They're able to follow their ideas, and we start to know them much more. Every time say, "Wow, I didn't know you think this way. Wow, I live with you here for 10 years now. I can't believe you were able to say that."
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to just find awe in them and delight in them more, which, just to bring it all back to attachment, like a parent's ability to delight in their child is one of the biggest predictors of secure attachment. Like, sometimes we have to be with them and accompany them to find time to get that delight. And that deepens the attachment relationship too.
Yes, and I will say it doesn't need to be all the time, but you need to open the door at least a little bit per day.
Alé, thank you. This is like the best. I love talking with you. It always makes me feel like a sense of peace and like orientation to like, okay, I can do this. I have ideas about how I can bring this into my life with my kids and my work with kids. If parents are listening or clinicians are listening and they want to know more about you, the work that you do, like KidSoma, whether it's how to get trained in it as a clinician or how as a parent to go find a practitioner who is trained in this, like, how can we connect them with you?
So you can look into my website, aleduarte.com, Ale from Alexander, aleduarte.com, or even like you can Google KidSoma, and then probably gonna take to the website. I do trainings for, most of the trainings are for professionals that work with children, and I do have a portion of this connection trainings for parents that probably will do at the end of the year in December, something online. Yes, and also you're gonna find me in YouTube for a few videos. I'm not too present in the social media, but I think that's a good way to start through the trainings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll link all that for sure so people can easily find that. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've learned so much today. I always learn from you. If you enjoyed listening to this conversation, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and your feedback with me by scrolling down to the ratings and review section on your Apple Podcast app or whatever app you're listening on, and let me know what you think of this episode or the show in general. Your support means the absolute world to me, and just a simple tap of 5 stars can make a real impact in how this show gets reached by parents everywhere. So thank you so much for listening, and don't be a stranger.